gonna break down the powerlifting bench press.
This is the setup where I place my feet back so my heels are up. This is my personal preference and my competition setup at the same time. This is how I set up to compete in the bench press. As you can see, I hinge from my hands and shoulders. My shoulder blades are pinched together. I basically just move the bar up and down. Everything else is very, very tight. Hold on, hold on. This is the flat foot position, or heel down, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's just the feet are further forward, and you just push from the ground. It's the same principle. I couldn't squeeze the bench with my legs. There's like a third option. The bench was too short. I couldn't reach it, so I just did these two. And this is how you retract your shoulders for the bench press. Your shoulders are down, your traps are relaxed, and you just retract your shoulders. You just pinch them together, and that's it.
Now, it doesn't matter what foot position you want to choose. What matters is that you're flexing your entire body. Your legs need to be tight. As if I lay down and I'm here, and I'm super ready to press heavy, and my legs are doing this, then I'm not really ready to press heavy. You need to be as rigid as possible. As rigid. Nothing can move you. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You brace, you take the deep breath into your stomach, and now past the feet, we get to the point of the arch and the shoulder blades. My shoulder blades need to be retracted. I don't want to bench like this. I want to bench like this. Not only does my bar path shorten by, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches or so, it helps me secure my chest. It helps me activate my lats better. Not that they don't activate like this, but it is definitely, when it's locked in, and I'm already squeezing my lats just by doing nothing. And the shoulders are down, your traps are down. We don't bench like this, whether it's bodybuilding or powerlifting. We bench like this. Now I'm gonna lay down, go up, and then I'm gonna hinge from my hands, from my arms, and then I'm gonna retract my shoulder blades, and then I'm gonna settle down. This is how I like to do it. Right here. And I'm pinching my shoulder blades right before I hit the pad. I feel pretty good right here. Maybe my feet could go backwards a little bit more. As long as I'm not moving, as long as these 2 points of contact, my glutes or my traps and shoulder blades, because that's where the weight needs to be on. It needs to be on your traps and shoulder blades. I'm trying to assume the same form, the same angle, or imitate it. It's not exactly a decline, but you need to try and imitate a decline. This way you're recruiting more muscle groups, lats, shoulders as well, chest, triceps, biceps, but back to stabilizers. You don't really use them that much in the bench press. And you secure your chest when you're tucked in and safe. Now I can handle more than I regularly would if my shoulder blades were just loose. Plus, like I mentioned before, it pulls my arms back. There's a big difference between this and this. There's no tension also. So right here, this is my position. Right here. I feel uncomfortable. And you should feel uncomfortable if you're going to execute a compound movement. You're not supposed to be chilling because your body is just not going to be ready for the maximum load. We're talking about powerlifting. We're talking about trying to see how heavy you can go. Maybe this is, I guess you can call it also a competition bench press form, but when you're training heavy, even if it's for repetitions, you need to be secure, much like the squat or the deadlift. I mean, nobody squats chilling. I mean, even if it's a warm-ups, I mean, you set up, I repeat my setup, whether it's an empty bar or as much as I can bench or squat or deadlift, doesn't matter. grip width is not as important, I dare say. If you're comfortable benching wide, you can bench wide. I've trained with people who bench super wide, like their index was on the ring. To me, I could never bench like that. It's just not my strength, I guess, or I never really trained it to strengthen that point. But I like to bench, my widest grip is pinky on the ring. I like to bring it slightly closer, just slightly. So I would say it's medium grip, I guess. But what matters the most is having your elbow under your wrists at all time. Doesn't matter if you bench here, doesn't matter if you bench close grip. If you bench here, your elbows need to be under your wrists at all times so they can handle the load evenly. Right here. You don't want the bar going this way, you definitely don't want the bar going this way, which always more often happens that it goes up to your face. You want your elbows to be right under your wrists. You also want your hands to not be like this. Not be like this. You want to be as straight as possible. I understand with maximal weights or with weights you've never done before, if you go for a PR, your wrists will bend a little bit. It's only normal that it does. But then you use the wrist straps, which we will demonstrate in a few moments. So if I lay down, I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to set up. This is my grip. I usually just go with this. The bar doesn't have. It used to have rings. That was 100 years ago. So I just measure it like this, right here, and here, right here. This is far enough for me. I do the same here, right here. So I look at it, very, very carefully before I start benching. I'm gonna set up. Right here. My elbows will be constantly under the bar. They need to follow the bar at all times, whether it's here, whether it's here, they need to follow your wrists, to be under your wrists at all times. Whether it's pretty wide, right here. Obviously, the wider I'm holding it, the more my elbows will be flared out. I don't want my elbows to be completely flared out. Then I'm using more of my deltoids and my chest. That's why you see the bigger the bodybuilding guys, they got a bigger upper body. They're just rounder delts and chest, because obviously they're doing it for symmetry and size. I don't train for size primarily. I train for strength. Size is always welcome, but it's not my priority. So I like to hold it mid grip, slightly wider. Sometimes I like to mix it up. And then my close grip will be, because I've gotten wider since I started, obviously. So at about 240 pounds, I would hold it like right before the smooth, right here. That's it. That used to be my close grip. I cannot do that anymore. So I'm just gonna go like a thumb out, almost. I stretch out my hand, that's it. And then I bring it a little closer. That's about an inch, I guess, maybe, not even 2 inches, but that's my close grip right here. Same principle applies. I'm gonna set up, of course my feet are gonna be back, my shoulder blades are retracted, my shoulders are down, they're not here, they're here. So it's the same distance right here. Same as before. And my close grip is gonna look like this. It obviously is gonna hit a little lower. The closer I'm holding the bar, the further out the bar is gonna hit. Like if I'm holding it here, it only makes sense since my elbows need to be under my wrists. I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna be a little higher. That's it. My bar path used to be a strictly straight line up till probably 16, maybe early 17. And then I realized that I was handling, when I was benching in competitions, on the way up, I would think, that's pretty good, I have it. And then I would just get stuck right here. The reason being, me being stubborn and thinking I'm just gonna leave the weight on my tricep. If my triceps are not strong enough, then I guess I don't deserve to get the lift. Then I would see guys that were benching more weight, a lot more weight than I did. And they would just flare out a little bit. Now flaring out slightly, like 3/4 on the way up. You're almost done, right here. As you flare out, the bar will go up, just a little bit. So it creates that J curve or J path. I'm gonna demonstrate that right now. Same setup as always. Right here. I want the bar to start at about chin level. I don't want to say eye level, but that's pretty good right here. And then it goes down like this. And as it goes up, right about here. J curve, right here. I don't know what's that, maybe 4 inches, 10 centimeters or so. But this is where I would always get stuck, right here, right here. Flare it up, that's it. Right here. What this does, that rotation shifts the weight from your triceps, which are obviously maxing out, they can't handle it anymore, towards your delts, who are very strong, and they're supporting muscles as well. So you're just throwing the weight back slightly. And if you notice, it's very subtle. Nobody's gonna be like this. But even if you notice, like a Sadichev or just the massive benchers, even the guys that are not that big of benchers, they all do that J curve. It's very subtle though. Like don't exaggerate it, or you're gonna throw your shoulders out of position. You want to be tight. That's it right here. Now, I still keep the straight line. I still bench in a straight line when I'm gonna do my secondary pressing exercise for the week. So if I go, let's say I have a heavy incline a lot, Monday or Tuesday, whatever, and I go to a close grip bench just to do a couple of plates like I usually do for repetitions and sets, I'm gonna stick to that straight line. I'm not gonna rotate it up. I'm not gonna flare out, because I want the weight to stay on those triceps, and I'm not gonna max out like this. I'm gonna keep lighter weights so I can always lock it out strictly in a straight line, but the weight stays on the triceps at all times. It's just a couple of repetitions with the close grip, but that is a secondary exercise. If you're gonna max out in close grip, that's okay to flare out a little bit, like I said, but for the secondary pressing exercise, whether it's because I press, I don't bench twice per week, I press twice per week. And my first session is bench press, and the second one is overheads. So usually my secondary exercise on Fridays after the overheads is whether it's incline, also relatively close grip, or just close grip flat bench, but I don't max out. So I'm just gonna do the straight line. I'm gonna demonstrate. And that's it. By tucking your elbows in, you activate your lats. So nobody can tell me that from here I can get as much activation. They do activate, of course, when I'm flexing them, I can feel it, but nothing compares to as you go down. It's almost twice as much. So I'm not saying you should bench like that all the time, but be in the middle somewhere. That's about, if my torso is 90 degrees to the ground, is perpendicular, your elbows should be at about 45 degrees. At least for my length. What I've practiced all these years is that's what works for me. It's preference. It also is what your strengths are. My triceps are stronger than my chest. That's how I've been training though. I haven't really benched wide for long enough to see what my chest can do. And I added one plate. I'm not supposed to train today. We got Zerker squats tomorrow. I'm just gonna add one plate and let it slowly go down. And I'm gonna stop the weight where my arms are touching my lats, right here. can feel them at that angle. They get maximum activation for my body. I mean, bodies are different. You know, people are wider, people are longer. You got to find your angle. It's all, you know, preference. But this is the form right there, 45, maybe 40 degrees, I guess, where I can max out in that at that angle. Again, I want to cover the part of my forearm before my wrist starts, where it connects to my wrist. So I don't want to be entirely up here, because obviously it's gonna bend. I want to cover the base first, then midway, and then a little bit higher right here, like this, and then I want to go right there. That's pretty tight. That's pretty tight. I can max out with this setup right here. I can max out. If your body's lifting off the bench as you press, some people have that problem. I've never had that issue. I don't know why. I don't focus on my ass as I'm benching, I guess. I want the force to go this way, like by going up, you're leaking energy, if you want to call it that. You're leaking strength. I don't want to go up like this, because then the force is going this way instead of, it's like a wave. You see what I mean? You smack it one way, then it palpitates. So this is what we're gonna do. If my ass is lifting, and I'm gonna set up yet again. Right here, I guess that's pretty good. Now if I'm here, and my ass is lifting as I'm pressing up, you should just set your feet further back. This is my competition form right here. Of course I kind of slipped out right now, but you know, that's about it. This is how I max out right here. This is how I max out. If my knees are lower than my hips, then for me at least, it's impossible to raise my butt off the bench. It's almost painful. I can't do it. Or you can put your feet out further, not 90 degrees. I'm guessing this is about 90 degrees to the ground. I don't really know. But here, because you have to flex anyway. Glutes, thighs, you know, your hamstrings, everything is flexing. Now, if I go here, from this position, I'm pressing up as I'm benching. That's it. I'm just gonna do a couple like this. So my ass, I mean, I can't lift my ass from here, but why would I press this way? I want to press this way. Just a couple of reps. I'm not really set up, but you know, you get the point right here. That's it. I don't really like this. Particularly, I like to be like a coil. It's like you get a sheet of metal and you press it against the wall. This is exactly how I view my bench press. This part being my head and my shoulders, obviously. So you press it. As you press it, it'll bend and it shouldn't move. So obviously the more weight you have on here, the less you're gonna slide upwards on the bench as you set up. That's why I like to hinge from the top. I used to set up like this. I used to do this right here. Like this. But as I go down, I have to push my feet back. Like this. And that's how I feel, at least. Like my shoulders are already relaxed. They're a little bit off compared to this. I mean, there's no comparison. I'm super tight right now. And I can press very easily from here. One small thing, but as important as everything else we've covered today, and I hope we've covered everything, is grip. If I'm coiled up like this, if I'm ready to snap in half, I'm taking the deep breath into my stomach, everything is flexing, my legs are flexing, my body's flexing, my erectors are flexing, everything is super tight right here, and my grip is weak, all this effort is not gonna transfer as well as it would if you squeeze the bar as hard as you can. As hard as you can. You have to. It transfers. Forearm, bicep, tricep, shoulder, etc., lats, to the rest of your body. There are many variations of the paused, of the bench press in general, but the paused presses are great for building strength. I personally like to sink the bar in competition and in the gym as well. I like to sink it in. This totally stresses me out. Like I create scenario in my mind that, oh, I'm gonna get crushed or something bad is gonna happen, and that helps me get more aggressive and press it. I used to compete where I would just touch my chest and leave it there. That was more controlled, but I think I can go more berserker mode if I let the bar sink. Obviously, it needs to sink and stop. If the bar doesn't stop, the judge is not gonna say press, so you need to stop it and then press it. This is my current preference the last maybe 3 years. And of course you can always stop, 4 inches from your chest, 2 inches from your chest. You need to stay tight. This is all lat work. The lat will allow your arm to land on it and collect it, and then you can use it as a coil, much like the rest of your body, to press it up. You have to stop like 20 minutes sometimes between clips and stuff. Thankfully they stopped now, so we should do our outro and fuck off. So to finish this is, I hinge from my shoulders first. I used to set my feet first. I mean, you can move your feet after your shoulders are pressed down and your shoulder blades are contracted. You can move your feet a little bit, but I would rather you didn't. You create the coil, everything is tight, legs, butt, the abs obviously are flexing, you're pressing out, you're braced, your lats are flexed, shoulders are down, and the shoulder blades are back. Squeeze as hard as you can. Your whole body is flexing, literally your whole body. And you touch it down and you press it up. That's it. The biggest problem that I've had, it most people have had, in competitions when you try to get a PR and stuff, is leaking, like stuff, making a small mistake, or the shoulder blade might slide. And this is when you get the injury, because it's not protecting, it's not cushioning the chest anymore. The shoulder blades are super, super important. And of course, you need to be at a decline. Don't forget that, because that's how you can maximize your bench press. For powerlifting, at least. Bodybuilding is a little bit different. I'm not a bodybuilder, I'm not a bodybuilding expert, so I can't speak for these guys to that extent, to the extent that I spoke for the powerlifting bench press today. Subscribe to the channel. I hope this video turns out nicely. We're gonna have to edit it. I might have to do a little bit of voiceover. Luckily they stopped now, so we can speak again. And thanks for watching.